Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how
He's alive!
Welcome to Where the Weird Ones Are.
Every time I speak, I want the truth to come out.
Powerful figures in Hollywood as well as powerful politicians who are in fact not human. They're reptiles or they're lizards or perhaps extraterrestrials.
I don't think it is a human. I think it's a Sasquatch.
Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.
Let's get weird.
What's up, you fucking weirdos? Welcome to another episode of Where the Weird Ones Are. My name is Kevin, but you probably already knew that, and if you didn't, now you do. Today's episode is with Phil. It's a bonus, so I hope you enjoy it. He goes by Exploring with Phil on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, so go check that shit out. Him and I recently just did a video for his YouTube series, and we investigated the Hockomock Swamp, and we got some really good evidence, some really weird shit just started popping off like crazy down there. So this is what this episode is about. We discuss the investigation down there and what transpired, our thoughts around it and everything. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and also for shout outs, the Conversation Cabin. She is an amazing person. She's an amazing friend, and I love her so much. Her name is Farah, and I definitely think you guys should check out her podcast. It's really good. She tells stories. She interviews people, and she's just such a genuine person, and I'm so happy to be friends with her. And I'm going to CryptidCon in Kentucky next weekend, so she will actually be there, and I will actually be seeing the boys from Cryptid Warfare. So if you're not listening to the Cryptid Warfare podcast, maybe you should, because they're dope as fuck too, and all of them I've become pretty good friends with. So go check out both of those podcasts. I believe they're on all the platforms that you can find podcasts on. So if you like today's episode, please like, follow, share, subscribe, do all that jazz. Leave a 5-star rating and a review if you feel so inclined to do so. I would appreciate it, but alas, you do not need to. Merch, etsy.com/shop/where the weird ones are. And yeah, looking forward to setting up a Patreon. I hope you guys will be interested in checking that out. It's gonna be, I tried to do it for $1, but they didn't want it. But I'm working on it. So anyways, I will keep you updated on what's going on with that. Other than that, let's get the fuck into it, right?
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Let's get weird! Let's get weird! Let's get weird! Let's get weird! Weird, get weird!
Well, for anybody that doesn't know, I recently took a trip out to the Bridgewater Triangle, specifically the Hockomock Swamp, in Marlborough, Mass. On an invite from Mr. Phil, Exploring with Phil, for those of you on Instagram, or I believe he still goes by Exploring with Phil on YouTube, but his channel is called Canadian Dutch Boys, so you can find that there. But we did a joint video for his YouTube channel, and we got some interesting stuff. But Phil, how's it going, man?
Good, man. Good. It was absolutely awesome time. Thank you for having me on to talk about it. I mean, I think so much happened during this video. We just had to talk about it. Even from like the jump. But yeah, thanks again for coming out. I mean, it takes a lot of courage, I will say, to go out to the Hockomock Swamp. You know, it's a wild place. It's a scary place even without the paranormal aspect, just because it's such a wilderness area. You know, there could be any number of dangerous animals around at any moment, and you probably wouldn't even know until they're right up on you. So, no, it was awesome. I really appreciate you coming. I will say I did change my YouTube channel to Exploring with Phil now, so everything
Nice.
is Exploring with Phil now. I did want to mention that. So yeah. But yeah, thanks again, and yeah, we can get right into it however you want to do it. But yeah, so much to talk about in this video, even
Yeah,
from the jump, even from the jump.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So I was showing my kids the video the other day, and my son was like, "Were you scared?" I was like, "No." I mean, actually, surprisingly, I wasn't. Like usually in the dark in the woods, like I get, pretty like what's that, like you said, the animals, dangerous animals and stuff.
sure.
So that's like the main reason. And then throw the paranormal aspect into it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it
For
gets
sure.
even more scarier. But the only time that I mean, I wouldn't say I was scared. I more so felt uneasy, like that one spot where you said that you always feel like you're being watched, and then all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden I was like, I feel like I'm being watched, and you didn't let me know where that spot was, and then you're like, this is the spot.
Yeah, yeah. Isn't that weird? Isn't that such
Yeah.
a, it's every single time. It doesn't matter who I take out there, every single person says that. You know, I took Eric out there, my sister's husband, and literally he stopped in his tracks and like turned around and was like looking around as if like, there'd be someone there. You know what I mean? Like that exact feeling of being watched and that sort of thing. And if I remember correctly, I think on the walk back, I think that's also the area where we got like beware, we got the crying bit, and then like the two, like when you started hearing the women a little bit further down, and I believe we caught some EVPs in there too. I didn't know how you wanted to talk about it. I don't know if you want to do chronologically or whatever, but yeah, dude, that area, for whatever reason, there's something going on there, you
The
know.
the biggest thing that I've talked about, so I talked about it with my sister, because her and her boyfriend came over and helped me with I just bought a couch last weekend, and he came over to help me get the couch inside, and I was telling my sister, because my sister used to co-host the show with me, and I'd talk about everything, dealing with paranormal, because my sister and I experienced quite a bit together. um and so I was telling her about it, and so the two most interesting aspects of the entire thing were the two women that you brought up. So Phil, for the listeners, Phil and I were walking back, we were heading out of the swamp, um and I just heard these two women like just gabbing, like they were sitting on the back of their porch, just like with a coffee or a beer, just like chit chatting away. And I stopped in my tracks and I was like, what the hell? And Phil turns around and I go, there's two women out here, talking. And he goes, hello.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, wait, is there a house out there? And he's like, no, it's nothing but swamp. And I was like, oh my God, that's even weirder. Because I don't
Yeah,
really because I don't know the area. So, and Phil obviously goes out there like religiously and gets evidence pretty much every time. And so yeah, it was interesting. And then just as he said something else, I can't remember what you said, but then um the talking stopped. You couldn't hear it, and I don't think we picked it up on the video, but I do think we still got like an EVP of something being said.
yeah,
And
yeah.
right after that, after they stopped talking, there was like a whimper, like it was like like that. And I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Yep.
And then so for like 5 minutes prior to me hearing that, we got crying on, what is it called? The
The word
tablet,
bank. Yeah, the word
the
bank.
word bank. We got it
Yep.
twice in a row.
Yeah, back to back
So
within probably 5 seconds of each other. It was like cry, and then a couple seconds pass, cry again. Yeah,
yeah,
super, super interesting. So before you hear the talking, you can hear like very faintly on the iPad audio, you can hear like kind of a like a smattering of talking. Like it's too far away to like make out what they're saying, but you can kind of hear that there's someone talking or like
yeah,
women talking or whatever. So we did pick that up. And then at the end, when we're kind of standing there, like talking and looking in the woods and stuff, we also catch like an EVP, which is like, it's like a faint yell, which is very, very weird to catch a faint yell because you can hear that it's a yell, but it's just super, super low. So, it's like obviously not a real person or anything like that. So, because we didn't hear anything at the time, if someone yelled in there, we'd hear it. And so it wasn't
absolutely.
that. It was definitely some sort of EVP or something, someone talking that we couldn't see. And yeah, just a weird experience. And then I can't remember chronologically if it was after or before that. It might have been right before the women were like kind of walking up to that area. And this is the creepy area where we get all the like the weird noise. Like just get those creepy feelings. A viewer was watching the video and she had like made a comment and was like, oh, I possibly hear something at 35:36, which is the timestamp. And so
Yeah,
I listened to it and like you can definitely hear something there. I can't quite make out what it is, but it is weird that it is that area. As far as chronologically, we get an EVP, a word bank that said beware, which is the first time I've ever gotten word bank that said beware. And then we start noticing that it kind of smells. It's that area where it kind of smelled different than anywhere else. It was kind of that musky mildew kind of smell. And then we catch an EVP of someone's like whispering, go home, which is pretty interesting. So that's kind of like leading up to like the women area. But yeah, just an interesting side note that I wanted to mention. Because at the time we're like, oh, it definitely smells weird. We're getting those creepy vibes, but we didn't know we caught that EVP, So I thought that was an interesting kind of, are the ghosts or spirits trying to warn us and be like, hey, you don't want to be over here. You need to go home. I don't know. Because the viewer thought that the noise could have been like a growl or something, but it's so low, I just can't quite make out what the noise is, but it's something, for sure something.
for that comment too, and I went right to that
Hmm.
time, but I didn't have my headphones in. So
Yeah,
if you do watch the video, everybody listening, if you do watch the video, please listen with your headphones because you can hear everything so much better.
absolutely.
I watched it on my TV, and a lot of it, I was like, oh, I don't really hear anything.
Yeah.
But I just I just was like, I was too excited to like sit there and watch it on with my headphones. I wanted it on my TV. So
Yeah. I know
um
that's one thing with when it comes to translating the videos to TV for some reason, like you do lose some of the audio. Like you can
yeah,
watch it on your phone and you could hear it clear as day on your phone without headphones, but somehow I don't know if it's just the iPhone or the phone speakers are just better than our TV speakers nowadays. I don't know if
yeah,
that's what it is, but I do notice that. That's why I have the disclaimer in the beginning to
right,
tell people
right.
to watch it with their headphones because you're right. With headphones, you can hear everything. Well, sometimes some of the whisper ones, you're gonna have a hard time hearing it if you're watching it on your TV at home.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Do you know that viewer's name by chance, so we can shout her
Carrie.
out?
Yeah, Carrie.
Carrie.
Yep.
She
Yep.
said she listens to the show, so I wanted
That's
to,
right.
since you brought it up, I wanted to shout her out. So thanks, Carrie, for not only listening to the show but watching the video.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, she's a loyal fan, and she also has like a reclaimed furniture. Whatchamacallit, what is it? Recently possessed or previously possessed. I'm sorry. She's probably like, oh my God, he can't remember it. No, previously possessed. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. She does like furniture. So if you like reclaimed furniture and that kind of stuff, you're looking for something for your home, check her out. I'm sure she's got some amazing things.
And she's where is she located?
I believe she's somewhere in Massachusetts, Bridgewater Triangle area, I believe.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So like, I'm sure, if you're somewhat local to the Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New England area, and you're swinging on through there, she has like social media and all that stuff with her stuff on there. So, if you like something, you can make a trip out of it, and so.
So, the other most interesting part that I wanted to talk about was the fact that we got Penobscot on the spirit box, and
Dude,
the
yes.
yeah, this is what another part that I talked to my sister about, and I was like, it's so weird because Penobscot isn't like a well-known tribe, and for it to be pop up on the spirit box is super bizarre. And my sister was like, "Oh my God!" And I was like, "You got to watch the video." So I can't remember what the question was that we asked before we got that. Do you
Yep.
recall that?
I did. I wrote this down. So, and I wrote down all the answers because we asked it twice in the beginning and then later on when we were near the area where we caught the SLS of the little people and all that stuff. So we asked, I think you asked, were you guys friendly with my tribe? And then you listed them
Yeah.
or, stuff like that. And so then they said, this is where they say Penobscot. And so then later on, you ask if they have any affiliation or any like they worked with the tribes from the north or anything like that. And then they said, which I think is the most crazy out of all the statements, they said, "We buried your queen," which
Right.
I don't know enough, and I forgot to look it up to see if there's some sort of historical um backing that up, that like somehow I don't know if it's a friendly manner. I don't know if they meant like, oh, we went to war with them and we like killed your queen. I don't know what they meant by it, um, or why they said it at all. But I thought that was super interesting, for sure.
I almost wonder if it was more like talking about like the Europeans at that point. I know we asked a specific question
Mhm.
about the other tribes, but
Yeah,
because tribes don't have kings and queens and stuff like
right.
that, so um which I found interesting. And when I heard it right there in real time, I was just like,
Yeah, you're
that's a
like,
little
that's
weird.
for sure, definitely weird. And then I think we asked again if they minded you being there, because you're from a different tribe, and we got kind of mixed results. It said yes, but then it also another voice comes in and said treason, and then another voice came in and said no. So it's
No.
very like mixed results as far as how they felt about it. But I mean, it was definitely significant because they did say your name. I forgot to keep track of how many times they said your name in the spirit box, but I
I think it
think
was
at
like
least
3 times.
three, if at least three or four. And one of
Yeah.
them, they were totally trolling you, because we asked, I don't know if you remember this, because we were talking about dangerous animals. Oh my God, but you have to talk about this moment. So we're talking about dangerous animals, and the spirit box literally says Kevin. But what's even weird about that? So fast forward to the end of this conversation, right? We're talking about panthers, we're talking about mountain lions, and you're literally talking to me about mountain lions. You're like, oh, in New Hampshire and Maine, we have mountain lions, and technically they're panthers. And we catch an EVP clear as day. You could hear it on the TV, no doubt about that. It literally says, yeah. And it's not me, because if you listen to it right after the yeah comes in, I'm already talking. So it's not me. It's like some other man that's there that's not you, because you're literally asking the question. You wouldn't answer your own question. So I know it's not you. It's not me because I'm literally just about to talk. And I'm like, dude. And we didn't notice it at all. It's, so
No.
we didn't hear it. So this is something that we definitely caught afterwards. And I'm like, I almost missed it because it literally is like in between you talking and me talking. It's like real fast. It's like, yeah. And I'm like, dude, unbelievable.
Absolutely.
And it's what's crazy about that is like that moment dwarfs in comparison to all the other moments that happened. I mean,
Yes.
this video was a video first. For the first time ever, I caught the REM pod. The REM pod made noise in the Hockomock Swamp. That's first time
Yes.
ever, and
Yes.
was intelligent and answering questions and responding. And that number two, temperature changes. I've never felt that many temperature changes in one investigation ever. So that was weird. And then of course the SLS. I mean, the SLS captures were unbelievable. And what validates the whole thing, we can break it all down, but what validates the whole thing is like we get them in the beginning, we do some more of our spirit box, and then we turn it back on, then it's on the REM pod, and then at the end, they're just gone. Like all
Yes.
those hits that we had, it's not like, because I saw some people comment, oh, this could be the leaves. I'm like, well, if it's the leaves, then it should be on there the whole time.
It
But
should
that's
be on
not
all of the trees if it's
one.
hitting the
Right,
trees.
right. And that's not what happened. That's not what happened. So like we can get into that if you want the SLS stuff, because that was just
Yeah. Yeah,
remarkable.
let's do that because I was I just watched one of your shorts on TikTok for the SLS part of that video, and there was a bunch of people like it's just graphing the trees, and there's actually a lot of comments on there basically like denying that it's anything paranormal. And I was just like, well, if that's the case, if it's the leaves or like the branches or whatever, it would be all over every single tree, not just a select few. So I
Yeah.
found it super interesting, the video and the part where it froze. So if you want
Yes.
to go into all that, like I would
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Dude, absolutely. We can break that down for sure. I have like the whole like sequence of events kind of like written down. Because there was just so many like weird things that happened before this that we'll get into too. So we're like, all right, I wanted to get the SLS out because a couple weeks before this moment, on the other side of the Hockomock Swamp, I had some hits over there. They were kind of like messing with my REM pod and then like looking at my backpack and that kind of stuff. Which I haven't even like I'm starting to edit that footage now of that video, so I'm interested to see what else we catch in that. But so I had caught that before, so that's why I had it in my mind. I was like, let me use it over here. I've never used it over here. Let's see if anything pops up. So we turn it on, and I mean, if we start getting hits immediately, I think at first it's the top two in the top of the tree, like two bigger ones, and then they just disappear altogether. As soon as we mention, we're like, hey, they're like in the tops of those trees. As soon as we mention it, boom, then they disappear. We don't see them anymore. And to give you, if you haven't watched the video, to give you an idea of the size of these stick figures we're seeing, the top two in the trees were a little bit bigger. I would say 2 feet, maybe. And then we had these other catches that were like very small. I would say it's very hard to say, but I don't know, 12 inches, 15, like very small. About like half the size of the bigger ones.
Real quick though,
Yeah.
for anybody that doesn't know what an SLS
Oh,
camera
sure.
is, if you don't
Yep.
mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So SLS was developed for the Xbox 360 way back when, I think 2010, 2011. They had this workout game and you had this, it was called the Connect, maybe? Do I have that
Yes.
right?
Yep.
It
You're
was
right.
called a Connect. And so basically just a video camera that could track your movements. And so it was for a video game that would help you work out and stuff like that. So it needed to track the player's movements. So that way it knew that you were doing the movements and stuff. So I think people started having things happen where it would start picking up on people that weren't there. Or so I think what ended up happening was this guy, paranormal guy, and I don't know his name to give him credit, but he was like, oh, this is interesting technology. I wonder if we used this camera and used it in the paranormal field, if it would pick up paranormal, ghosts or whatever. If naked eye can't see him, maybe this camera can pick it up. And so essentially that's what they did. They engineered it to use it in ghost hunting. And so basically the camera is basically trying to seek out things that if Kevin stands in front of it, it will outline his body as a stick figure. So whatever you're looking at, it's looking for figures or people to map out or whatever. So usually when you'd use it and look around, because I've used it a few times, you don't really catch anything. Like if you use it in just like a random park or something, most of the time you don't really catch much of anything. So to turn it on, and that's basically what SLS is. It just maps out, people or whatever, figures. Like that's essentially how it works. So when you start, panning around in the Hockomock Swamp or whatever, and you start seeing these little like stick figures and so the stick figures in the trees, it's definitely something that's you don't normally see, for sure.
And some
And
of them
so
weren't in the tree. Some of them were there was a little bush, and then they
yes,
were on the ground too. They weren't just in like
right.
bush or trees too.
Right.
So
And there were what was remarkable too is it was like there was so many in that one bush. Like you had the bush, there was like a bigger one in there, then the little ones in, and then like you said, on the ground next to it, there was like, I don't know, it was so hard to count. There was at one point, there would look like at least 15 of them, 10, 15 of them, quite a bit. And to tie this all into like some Native American Wampanoag lore, yes, there's Pukwudgies, which are the bigger ones, but there's also and I can't remember the name because it's a Native American name and I don't want to butcher it. But basically, it's essentially little people, and it seems like to me, I always thought it was just Pukwudgies, but now the more research I do, I think there's multiple entities. And this SLS capture kind of goes along with that. So you have the bigger ones, right? Those I think are Pukwudgies. Then you have these littler ones, like the little ones. I think they're like little people or like little fairies, whatever you want to call them. And I've been doing a little bit of research on the Wampanoag lore, and there is lore of these little people who would kind of always ask for food, which I thought was interesting.
Yes.
Because leading into this, previous to this, that like I've had multiple entities or ghosts or whatever ask for food. They've asked for cookies. They've asked for chips twice. So that's that connection. So I'm like, as soon as I read that, I was like, oh my God, this is probably what these are. They're like these little beings. And so Wampanoag said that these were actually real beings at one point, but then they possibly have died out or something. So they basically were like little people, and then if you stared at them, they would point at you, and then they would disappear. So
What the fuck?
yes, and so the Wampanoags would say like, "Oh, don't stare at them. If you see them, don't look at them. Just like ignore them, and because if not, you won't be able to see them again." That's basically. So and I've done very limited research. That's as far as I've gotten with them, but I wanted to mention it because, dude, there was definitely two different sizes. There was the bigger ones.
Yeah, there was.
And then there was the little ones. And so that's what kind of got my mind thinking, well, there's got to be something else going on. And so that's when I did some more research and I was like, oh my God, there you go. That explains it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's very the minute we got out of the car, we were getting stuff on the word bank and
we got an EVP like as we're getting ready.
Yeah.
It literally said, wait.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Okay, I'm gonna make this even creepier. So on the way, about a month ago, and I didn't really televise this or like talk about it much because I didn't want my family to get like upset or whatever, but they're not gonna listen to this. So, and I won't say who it was, but on my spirit box, if you've watched this video, then you know I got the name of a relative unprovoked in my name, and this relative died about a while back. So it's not like recent, it's an old relative. And so when they said their name, or whoever said their name, they gave the title that they would be to me and then their name. And then it said, be careful, which I thought was very, very strange. So I'm telling Kevin the story, and I tell Kevin who it was because, it's Kevin, I trust him. So as we get out, I think literally the first word bank we get when we get out of the car and I turn it on right after the EVP of wait, it says the title of the person that I was talking about, meaning like grandfather, grandmother, cousin, aunt, uncle, whatever that title is, it said that title, which creepy, very, very creepy. So like I didn't put that in the video because it would give away who it was, but their title or whatever. So I didn't put it in there, but I wanted to mention it because it's like, dude, that's that's weird, man.
What do you think the correlation? Like, what do you think the weight they were meaning? Like, do you think they meant like wait a minute to enter, or?
I would assume, yeah, I would assume that's what they mean. Maybe there's something going on in there that they was dangerous or something. I mean, because we can get into some other things that happened that were kind of weird.
Yes.
Kind of, dogmen like and demonic possibly.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Top of the day, everyone. I'm Nisha.
And I'm Buddha Badass.
And we're the hosts of Hot Garbage True Crime Edition. Do you guys like true crime?
I really don't. I feel like you force me on this show every freaking time I come here.
Do you guys enjoy listening to victims and murderers and grotesque stuff?
People that are sick in the freaking head, that's who likes it. That's who likes it.
Well, if you like that kind of stuff, then you should totally check us out. I mean, every single Thursday, we drop the most hottest cases, and we have fun while doing it.
You drop the most hottest cases? You drop murder and death. Kill.
How many people can actually say that they have fun while listening to a true crime podcast? And I feel like that's what we do here.
So you're just not going to listen to me now? I'm just going to say this and you're not going to listen to me?
And you know what? our listeners are not just our listeners, but they're our friends and our trash pandas. We love you guys.
They're a lot, and I will agree to that part, but I'm still just mad at you for just not talking to me. They're paying you this well to say all this.
So check out Hot Garbage on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Check us out every single Thursday. A new episode drops.
I officially hate this commercial on some real.
I don't know if it's my family member that is saying these things, or the possibility could be it's an entity trying to make it seem like it's my relative to try to get closer to me, because that's always a possibility, which is why I try never to reach out to family members in spirit boxes or EVP sessions. I never ever do that, because honestly, it's just not worth it. Even if the small chance that you can get a hold of them and speak to them, and it is them, like, it's not worth the other side of that where something else is pretending to be your relative,
Right.
and then
Which
it gets
we
a
know-
photo.
we know
that
demons do.
100%. And to
So.
tie this into what happens later on, we heard metal noises, and the way Kevin describes it, because Kevin was a little bit closer to me, to the noise. Kevin describes a noise that sounded like a gate opening, and we heard it. You heard it twice. We heard it 2 times.
Yes.
So let me go to my notes so that way I don't miss any of the things that happened while we were doing this. So we hear they hear the metal. Well, actually, this is like right in between recording, because this is why I keep the camera rolling at all times now, for reasons like this. So we're like in between. We're setting something up, maybe the REM pod or whatever, setting something up. And so we're setting it up, and then all of a sudden, boom, we hear that metal noise, and it's like, oh. And so we hear it. I pick the camera up, and then we hear it again. And so then this is when we turn on the spirit box, and we're like, all right, let's see what's over here. And so then we get out of my way, not once, but twice. Then I follow, of course, the natural follow-up to that question is, get out of the way of what? Or what are we in the way of? So I asked that question, and on the spirit box, we get, he's over here, demon. And at the time, Kevin didn't hear it, demon, but I had heard demon, and that's why I stopped and I said, did you hear what I heard? And you're like, oh, no, I didn't hear that. And I'm kind of glad you didn't, because it probably would have freaked you out. But so then we get that, but I want to fast forward to later on when we're doing the spirit box. We get a knock on the door. Literally, it sounds like a knock on the door. That's exactly what it sounds like. Crystal clear. So then I question it, and I'm like, what is that? Did you knock on the door? And then the spirit box, it says mystical, and then it says your prayer really changed, and then it kind of cuts out, and then we get the word bank response, stay, like directly after that. Just a weird sequence of events, the metal noises, and then one of the creepiest thing that happened during this whole metal noise thing, right? So we're asking questions whenever I have the spirit box on. I think you were already looking that direction, or did you turn around with me? I can't remember. So I'm literally like whatever looking, and then to me, what it sounded like to me was literally a person walking a dog on a leash, and they were getting close, like the dog, like that's literally what it sounded like. Which is why if you watch the film reaction of it, I turn around really fast and I'm like looking down, because I literally felt like someone was gonna be like or something was gonna be like right behind me, or like right up on me. That's exactly what it like sounded like or felt like. And so
from my perspective, because I think I was like at least 5 or 6 feet away from you at that time when you had whipped around. I didn't hear it right away, but then I heard what sounded like shuffling, and you weren't moving. You just turned around. You didn't like start walking or anything. You just literally turned around, and what I heard was it sounded like somebody was just like shuffling across like through the woods, basically. And I was just like, what is that? And then you're like, did you hear that? And I was like, I heard something. And then you're like, it sounded like a dog. And I was like, oh, it sounded like a person to me. you know? And then another interesting, during this whole like thing with like this metal sounds, the get out of my way demon, you said it was the first time you ever got this on the spirit box. Was it just like, and it was loud and clear. It's just Bigfoot.
Yeah,
and we're like,
Bigfoot.
what the hell?
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever gotten that. And we get a couple interesting responses after that. I did write it down. That way, in case we wanted to mention. Oh, there it is. And then we asked, after we got the spirit box Bigfoot, we asked, "Where are you?" And then it said, "You know where they are." And then it said miles right after that, like kind of like, which is weird. It's like, I don't know where they are. Why would you say that? You know what I mean? It's like, what? What? It's like, I was like, do I know? I mean, I guess I do know where they are. They apparently think I do. I don't know, but yeah.
And just for the record, when I said I was gonna do a tree knock and then I bang on the
Yes. Yep.
the metal, I couldn't find a tree big enough for a tree knock because it's a swamp area, so it's all like saplings and shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I banged on the metal structure.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, because I heard somebody messaged me and was like, "You didn't even do a tree knock." I was like, well, there wasn't any trees.
You want me to go into the swamp?
Yeah. And then I threw the rock.
Yeah.
Put that bitch back.
Yeah. They didn't, but I wish they would have. They would have made it.
Yeah. I would have ran. If that rock came back at us, I would have ran. I'm just telling you that right now. I might have left you.
Yeah. To tie in some more dog stuff, we got word bank response a little bit later on when we were down near doing the Pukwudgie SLS thing. We got word bank response dog followed by REM pod hits immediately after that, which is pretty interesting. Then we asked on the spirit box, we're like, who did that? And then it said, "You asked me to." I don't know if you remember that moment or not.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's
yeah.
weird.
I was like, oh, dude, definitely. And then we get the word bank response, Marie. And so they're like, "Oh, Marie, did you do that?" And then she says, "I don't want to say." And I'm like, just like,
I didn't. It was like, that was like very Valley Girl, like,
oh, for sure. Yeah.
expression to me when that came across. I was just like, oh, well, fine.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly
I'm
it.
not gonna tell you.
Yeah. And I think one of the most
do things when I'm asked to.
Yeah. Just so uninterested, just like, all right, whatever. I'm trying to think if there's any other moments that were like kind of creepy. I don't remember what we were talking about, but I was middle of asking a question, and the word bank said silence. That was.
I was like, oh, I want us to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
They asked for food a couple times, and then they asked for toilet paper, and I was like, well, they gotta eat and they gotta take a shit. So.
Yeah, that's right. And these leaves are just not doing the trick. It must not be. Oh, the crossbeam shaking. I did want to mention that too. That was weird. That was weird. I don't know what to make of that. I don't know what naturally could cause that.
There wasn't any wind, but then again, higher up, there could have been a slight gust, and we just weren't feeling it down there. But like, I was just leaning on it like for at least 10-15 minutes with nothing. And then all of a sudden it started shaking, and I was just like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't that correlate with some other like REM pod hits and some other like activity at the same time?
I think the RAM pod was going on, which is going off, and I was just pressed up against it watching the RAM pod, and then it was this was right after the metal noises out in the woods.
Yeah.
And then I also think it was right after you heard the like there was a dog on a leash or something, and I had basically turned my back on the woods and was focused more out there because I kept hearing what sounded like rocks tapping, but I think they were bugs.
Yeah.
But it just sounded like somebody had two rocks and was just sitting there going repeatedly.
Yeah.
And so I was just leaning against that, and I think also it was right after I had thrown the rock too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Yep. It was shortly after that.
So we got all these hits. And it was after the SLS as well, I believe, or right before the SLS.
Yeah, I can't remember. It was definitely either right, but it has to be right before. I think it must be.
Yeah,
it must be right before because I think the SLS. Yeah.
And it felt like it was pulsating, not actually like shaking. It was like, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it.
No, that's exactly it. It felt like it's exactly what it felt like pulsating, just like energy passing through it or something. No, I mean, you could be like, oh, maybe that's electricity or something, but I don't know, dude. I've never I mean, I've never noticed it shaking like that. That's why I was like, oh, that's very strange. And it wasn't particularly windy that day. It was like pretty calm. Um, not really any weird little like temperature changes. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of that.
A
There was a
lot of
lot of
that,
that.
a lot of that, but not like any gusts of wind or anything. We didn't have any wind on the mics or anything like that. So usually, if it's
Yeah.
windy, you can hear the wind. But
Yeah.
no, it was a relatively calm night. That's why I'm like such a weird experience for sure.
Yeah, it was like I think it was like 60 degrees when we made our way out there,
Yeah.
and it got really chilly, and then it would go back to normal, and then it got really chilly again. And then right before we were about to leave, like we were about to pack up that last time, I was standing there, and then all of a sudden I just felt really sweaty. I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, right. Isn't that weird? Such a weird
I didn't mention it just because I sweat randomly all the time, so maybe that was just a me thing, but I
Mhm.
don't know. We were just standing there and you're like, "Oh, thank you." And I just instantly started feeling like I was gonna start sweating. And then as soon as we started walking away, like that feeling went away. And then it felt normal again. And I was just like, "What the fuck was that?" That was weird.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the final moment is something that like happens off camera. So like we're walking back. I have the camera off. I still have the iPad going, which is why I keep the iPad going the whole time I walk back. And all of a sudden my flashlight turns off by itself. And so I'm like,
Yeah. Yep.
oh, my flashlight turns off by itself. And then there's like another voice that comes out of nowhere. And like the beginning part of it, I can't make out what they're saying, but it ends with something like you can do it with fasting. Something like it literally says fasting at the end. I wrote it down. Did I write it down? I can't remember what it is, but it literally says something. It was like literally a whole sentence, but it was like almost instructional. It was like, oh, you can do it with fasting or something like that. But I was like, what? Very, very weird.
That is weird.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
weird.
Mhm.
There's a lot of references to eating that night.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, absolutely.
fasting is not eating.
Right, right. Yeah, very weird. Just I mean, overall, just a unbelievable night of a lot of different catches, like at least six, I think 7 or 8 EVPs at least. Um, and a bunch right in the beginning, right in a row, and then it kind of quieted down for a little while. And as far as EVP wise, and then it kind of geared up towards the end. Tons of spirit box
Oh
responses.
my God, so many.
Yeah, and a lot of things like correlating with like a portal door and gates opening and that kind of stuff. And the one thing I wanted to mention when I heard the dog thing and I turned around on the spirit box right before that, it says the doors opened up, and then
Yes, yes.
we
And we
get
also
the
heard that knock too from
yes,
the spirit,
yes,
and
yes,
you
right.
know,
And so that's why it's like that's why I kind of named it that is for those reasons because there's just such a correlating thing. It's not something we even were bringing up. It's something that we caught and so yeah, it's super interesting. For sure.
absolutely.
Especially, I don't want to give anything away. I got a couple of videos down the pipe. Actually, no, the Halloween one. Okay, it just came out on
Yes,
Halloween.
yes, it
I
just
went
came
back
out.
to the to the Hockomock area, another area where I hadn't been in a long time, and I did catch another door knock over there. Not the same sound, but another knock on wood, which is weird.
That is weird.
Very
That
weird,
is weird.
especially, because I know that's not the radio. I mean, it's just it's very weird, it's definitely
I
very
mean,
weird. And oh yeah, that's right. And I heard like water being poured into a glass. Or
ooh, shit.
I'm assuming it's water. It could be any type of liquid, but
Right.
yeah.
Maybe
But
maybe they're
very
used to
distinct.
drinking some scotch back in the day. And they were just like,
Yeah.
this is
I
what
don't
I'm
know.
doing for the rest of my life in this
Yeah, yeah,
realm. Just
yeah. It was just
scotch.
yeah, right. Just drinking it up, I guess. I don't know. But yeah,
Uh,
man, thanks for coming out. It was such an awesome video. I hope all of your listeners check it out because it was just absolutely unbelievable.
yeah, me too. I've shared it a couple times, so you have quite a bit of views on it now, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, for sure.
But I hope everybody goes and checks it out. I mentioned it on my Halloween special too, where you share
Awesome.
a
Awesome.
personal experience. So right before your video pops up, I also say something about it then. So like just like I talk with everybody else, it's everybody in this field or realm or um this whole like paranormal community, I guess. It's good to help each other out, and it's good to um advertise each other. So like I don't have any problems with anybody that is or has more viewers or more listeners than I do, or has a higher ranking or more 5-star ratings. Like I'm not if I wish everybody success in this, basically. So like people like you doing your YouTube videos and other podcasts, like I hope everybody succeeds in what they're trying to do. So yeah, do you have merch now?
I do have merch. Yeah. Yep. I do have merch. I have a I have links on my stuff. I think it's through like spreadsheet. Is it spreadsheet or spread store? I can't remember the name of the website now. But I do have merch. Yes, I have links for
Okay.
all that. Yep.
All right.
Mhm.
Well, send me those links and I'll put it in the show notes
Perfect.
for everybody that listens to this that haven't yet checked you out. But so what's next for you coming up? Like what are some of the things that you
Hmm.
have going on in the near
Let's see.
future?
Near future. So I'm working on another Hockomock video now. Which are I'm only I said only really weird there. I'm only probably like 10 minutes into editing this video, and already I've caught like a few EVPs. And
Nice.
this is another joint video. Um, I believe you're in this video too. Did I reach out to you like a month ago and ask you questions to ask in the Hockomock Swamp? Or no? Or was that
Maybe.
like maybe? I can't
I
remember if I
can't
asked.
remember either.
Me neither, dude. It's time flies. So there's
Yeah.
this. I'm not done editing the video yet, so I don't know if Kevin's in this one or not because I reached out to like almost everyone I knew that morning, and you might have gotten back to me. Like I said, I haven't edited it yet. So, but it's another joint episode where, like you said, with cross promoting. So my idea was this. I had this idea like a month ago. I've done it once already, and I've had great results. So basically, I reached out to on the last Talking Buck, I reached out to you. I reached out to Induce Fear, all these different, like 3 or 4 different podcasts, asked if they had any questions to ask on the Hockomock Swamp. You guys provided the questions. And then, so I did like a joint video with like all of you guys, So I'm doing that again this week with a bunch of different creators. So like you were saying, all, in my opinion, that kind of stuff is like exactly what we should be doing. You know what I mean? Like cross promoting, because we did a video together. Now we're doing a podcast. We're talking about that video. And so like I'm willing to work with anyone who's willing to work with me, and because I'm all about trying to grow just like you are. We're all trying to like grow as fast as possible, and the fastest way to grow is by helping each other and using each other as far as growing our audience, because you have your audience, I have my audience, there's a little bit of crossover there, but when we come together, then we could have, because I'm sure there's some viewers of my stuff that don't know who you are, vice versa. So it's a great way to like grow all of our stuff because they're going to see you in my video. And if they've ever heard of you, they're going to be like, oh, this guy's cool. Let me look him up. So that's exactly how it works. And when we come together, we make good stuff. It's good for everybody, because
Totally.
you're getting the recognition for it. I'm getting the recognition for it, so like, it's just good. And so like the last time I did this with the one with you, where you, asked your question. I can't remember what your question was off the top of my head. But that video, that trailer got like 7,000 views on the first day because we combined all of our audiences into one audience for that clip, and so we all get recognition from that clip because we're all tagged in it. Everyone who's viewed it saw that you were tagged in it, and hopefully that translates to more followers, listeners, all that kind of stuff. Even from that video alone, I got like 100 followers from just that one video. And so that's remarkable, like that's the kind of growth that we want to see, so I think with doing this video and the joint things that what I've been trying to do with a bunch of different people, including you, I think it's going to be a way for us to grow for sure. And I think it's the way forward too. Like the more joint podcasts you do with other podcasts, I think could only benefit you,
Absolutely. I reach out to a lot of other podcasters, especially in the paranormal and encrypted field, just
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like a lot of us, like the reason why we're so drawn to talking about this stuff is because we have our own experiences. And that's what I really like talking about is people's experiences. So yeah, I like the mental health aspect of it because a lot of people think that they're crazy, and that's why I talk about my stuff. Is just like when I talk about the attempts on my own life. Like I used to, every time I brought it up, I would start crying and I would lose my mind about it. But now it's gotten so much easier. So I feel like I've healed from that. So
Oh,
like this
sure.
podcast
Right.
and talking to people like you has helped me it, with my own mental health. So
Sure. Yeah, it's like therapy in a way. Like every time you talk about something like that, that's like hard to talk about, it becomes easier to talk about. You kind of work through that. Whereas like if you don't talk about it, you kind of bottle it up, and then that's when it can create more problems in your life, that you don't even notice.
absolutely.
So like that's that's part of it. And so that's a great part of your show. And so you're doing a great job, man. You're hustling. There's no two people, and I'm gonna say this right now, there's no two people that work harder at what we do than me and Kevin. No doubt about that. Kevin's always hustling. Kevin's always going to like different conferences, like trying to meet up with people, like you're hustling, man. And that's, you got to respect that. So I wanted to give you a shout out for that, because
Thanks,
I
man.
I know how much like work goes into like doing what you do or doing what I do. And I know it's like a lot of the time it's very thankless. So I want to thank you for doing what you do,
Thanks,
because
man. I appreciate you.
yeah,
A
man.
lot.
Yeah, man.
A
Yeah,
lot.
man.
And then
man.
and then you're gonna be in Tennessee next week.
Yes. Yeah. Is it next week? God, is it next week already?
I think you said November 9th you were gonna be
16th.
16th.
Yeah, so like 2 weeks from now. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna be on Tony's show again. Kind of talking a lot about like what's been happening the past several months. As far as like on my channel with the experiences I've been having and stuff like that. I guess I'll give you a little bit of preview for your listeners if you want.
Yes.
And since I was on Tony's show, there's been definitely an uptick as far as paranormal activity I've caught in my videos. More specifically, whether it's spirit box, EVPs, whatever, whether it's ghosts, demons, whatever they are, people have been saying my name a lot. And a lot of it's good and it's not bad necessarily. Most of it's fine. It's just a weird phenomenon. I don't know what to make of it. They said a lot of things, most of it's positive, like Philip is awesome. I've gotten that before in the spirit box. I've gotten like I know Philip, stuff like that, just like weird. And I'll give you another preview. So it gets even weird. I've had moments where this just happened. So the day that we met up that night, that morning, I did an Urban Explorer and an abandoned hospital that just came out this past Thursday.
Yes.
Yep. So it was awesome video, absolutely incredible. I didn't say my name one time in that place. And secondly, I just went there just to do an explore. Yeah, I had like the word bank going, but we didn't do one EVP session. I didn't ask any questions. We caught like 7 or 8 EVPs, 2 of which both say my name, and then the other one says, it says Philip, I know him, or Philip, I know him, something like that. Weird, like who are these people? How do they know my name? Why do they know me? It's just like a lot of like weird kind of things like that. That's kind of part of what I'll be talking about, and then the other part you're gonna have to wait.
Yep. Nice.
Yeah.
And just to piggyback off of that, I just recorded with Tony yesterday. So for those who don't know what we're referencing, it's the Confessionals podcast. So definitely go check it out. I'm not 100% sure when my episode is coming out. I think he said next week, but
nice.
By the time anybody listens to this, it might be out already, because this will come. We're recording on Saturday, and then this episode will come out on Friday, this coming Friday.
I love it.
So. Trying to free your mind, but I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it. And by walking through it, my friends, head on over to www.deeperdown.store. There you will find some sick-ass threads, AI-inspired art on t-shirts, hoodies, flip-flops and cups, and motherfucking tote bags. I promise you, my friends, if you follow the rabbit, you will not be disappointed. You can also find _ down the dot rabbit hole _ on Instagram. He has thousands of followers, and he shows you deep down the rabbit hole on conspiracies, hauntings, and cryptids. I highly recommend you subscribe for $2.99 a month. Also, if you check out his store, upon checkout, enter code KevinsWeird18. There, my friends, you will get 18% off of your purchase. So please, I highly recommend and suggest to you to go check out his store. David is a good friend and he deserves the utmost respect, and I wish him nothing but success. But this is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. So yeah, so it might be out, it might not be, but just go check out his podcast regardless. He's a wicked chill dude. He's actually the inspiration for me starting this show. So, which I let him know that.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know what's funny? I told him that I like whatever with last time I was on, because I was like, dude, you've got like at least I know of at least 3 or 4 guys that have started podcasts just because of you. And I mentioned you, I mentioned Tom, I mentioned Oscar, because all 3 of you guys, are huge fans of his. Yeah, and Tony's such a great guy. I've known Tony for a long time. Good dude. Please check out his podcast. And when yours comes out, I'll be sure to share it. Make sure you listen to it. Kevin's got, you may be like, oh, I know Kevin. I've heard his stories before. That doesn't matter. You go on there, you listen to it, you support him. Because I know you shared all your stories on your pod. But still, though, I mean, it's a big opportunity for you. It's a great opportunity for your podcast to grow. And so I'll be sharing it. And I know your fans are going to be listening to it and sharing it too. So yeah, dude, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to listen to it. It's going to be awesome. So.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because you're going to be in Tennessee on the 16th. I'm going to be in Kentucky on the 16th.
I know, right? That's what I'm saying. We're hustlers. We're hustling. No one works harder than me and you. That's no doubt about that.
Absolutely. I'm still looking forward to the podcast about beards that you and Tommy keep talking about.
Yes, I know. The beard. We need to make a shirt too. That's one of the other things I need to do too. And then we'll it'll kick off the podcast.
Oh man, every time you guys talk, and I think you've only been on his show twice, but both times he mentions your beard.
Yeah.
Like, you've got the most magnificent beard I've ever seen, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people mention that or say things like that to me. I mean, I literally, no joke, and I'm not making this up. I was at Epcot 2 years ago. and I was standing outside London drinking a beer over there in Epcot. They have the little countries and stuff. Literally just standing there drinking a beer, minding my own business, me and Nicole. And this guy literally walks by me, looks at me real quick, stops in his tracks, does a double take, comes back and looks at me, and he looks me right in the eyes and says, "That is the best beard I have ever seen in my life." And then just stood there and looked at me for a minute. And I was like, "Oh, thanks, man." And he's like, "No problem." And then he just walked away. And so... So I've gotten that before. I try to take care of my beard as much as possible. So many people have asked that I'm probably going to have to make a video about how I take care of my beard, because so many people ask me that. They're like, "Oh, what do you do? Do you wash it every day? Do you do this? Blah blah blah." So I don't know.
Yeah.
So the bearded paranormal gang. You kind of have a beard now too, so you can be in.
Well, it doesn't come like I got like
Little
bald
patches.
spots all over, so it
Yeah.
doesn't really like come in like yours and Tommy's. So
Mm.
after a little bit, at some points, I'm just like, all right, I gotta shave this shit because it looks
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah.
But
Honestly, if you let it grow a little bit longer, you might be able to cover up on some of those patches.
yeah,
Yeah, because over time, even if you do have a little bit here or there, if you let it grow longer and longer, it will cover up little spots that you might have. Because once in a while, if I have a lot of stress, I get like alopecia sometimes, and
yeah,
I'll lose a little bit of hair here or there, and on my beard sometimes, or on my
yeah,
head, so that can happen. So
yeah. I mean, people are out here hairless. I mean, Will Smith's husband. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
anyway, so let everybody know where they can find you.
Absolutely. So you can follow me at Exploring with Phil. That's Phil with 2 L's. Anywhere you're on, whether that's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. My YouTube channel is Exploring with Phil as well. So that's where you can find me. Currently, I do weekly videos, mostly Bridgewater Triangle, but I have been branching out in other areas. Mostly ghost hunting, paranormal investigations. I do a little bit of urban exploration as well. And I've been doing a lot of history meets paranormal vis-a-vis King Philip's war sites and stuff like that, kind of like retelling the past and then doing paranormal investigations and seeing if we can reconnect with the past, basically. So I do basically those things. You can follow me all Exploring with Phil no matter where you are. And thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. This is awesome. We'll have to get together again soon.
Yes, absolutely. I 100% agree. So that is the show. If you guys are interested in being featured on the show, it's where the weird ones are at gmail.com. Instagram, where _ the weird ones are. That is where I'm most active. I've never plugged my TikTok before, but I will take this opportunity to do so because I do share some clips from the show. But that is Kevin. This is. It's not mainly based on for the show, but it's I do random stupid videos too because I tend to think I'm funny. But where the weird ones are on Facebook, you can get me there. And the Etsy.com/shop/ where the weird ones are. And I am currently making putting together a Patreon, which more details about that will come out. I have a website, which is where the weird ones are podcast.com, but I accidentally published it a little bit too soon, so it's not fantastic at the moment, but I am trying to make sure it's a good website for you guys to check out. It'll be like um, pages that you can interact with me on. That you can it'll have all the socials that you can contact me on. It'll have updates about upcoming episodes and pictures of people who wear the merch. So there's a whole gallery in there of everybody who sent me a picture of themselves with the merchandise on. But yeah, other than that, oh, and I'm also trying to put like a festival convention kind of thing on. I have asked Phil to be a speaker, so he's gonna hopefully be able to come up here to Maine and speak about the Hockomock Swamp and the Bridgewater Triangle. If you watch his videos, you can clearly tell that has done his research on the area because he talks about it a lot. So hopefully that will be August 31st when we put it together. I'm just having a hard time right now finding a good spot for where we can have food trucks and enough vendors and all that stuff. So with that being said, Phil, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's always nice to talk to you, and we'll definitely have to get together for a video/pod again very soon. And I wish you safe travels to Tennessee, and I wish you nothing but success, man.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Same to you as well. Good luck on your trip to Kentucky. I'm sure you'll kill it. You've just been killing it like you always do. So thanks for having me on. We'll have to get together definitely and for another video. I know you're not that far away, so we'll have to set something up. Maybe we'll go to another Bridgewater Triangle hotspot. If you have something on your mind, think about it. You know, there's a million different spots we can go to. So if you see something that I've been to and you're like, oh man, like that kind of interests me. Let's go. Like, I want to go there. Let me know. We'll do it again. And then we'll run it back. Kevin and Phil part 2.
Everybody, I hope you have a good day, good night, whatever time you decide to listen to this. And just remember, question everything.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.
Because in the end, none of us have very long on this earth. Life is fleeting. And if you're ever distressed, cast your eyes to the summer sky. When the stars are strung across the velvety night, and when a shooting star streaks through the blackness, turning night into day, make a wish.